The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The Philippines and China are trading blame over the collision incident in the West Philippine Sea on Sunday. The armed forces of the Philippines captured the collision of this massive Chinese Coast Guard ship with a small resupply boat, MV Undas May 2, in the West Philippine Sea at around 6 a.m. MV Undas May is an indigenous boat hired by the AFP to deliver supplies to the BRP Sierra Madre, which currently serves as an outpost in the Ayungin Shoal. According to the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea, the Chinese Coast Guard was trying to intercept the resupply boat in the Philippines' exclusive economic zone when the collision occurred. Meanwhile, this aerial shot shows how the Chinese militia ship bumped the port side of the Philippine Coast Guard vessel 4409 that was escorting the resupply mission. The NTF-WPS condemned China's actions and described them as dangerous, irresponsible, and illegal. They added that this is the latest in a slew of aggressions in violation of Philippine sovereignty and utter disregard of international laws, as well as a 2016 arbitral award. Meanwhile, China disputes the country's accusations in yesterday's incident. In China's video, it can be seen that the Philippine vessel veered left to avoid the blocking of Chinese Coast Guard ship. But according to China, the Philippines allegedly ignored their repeated warnings at what they call Renal Reef. They claim that this prompted them to intercept our troops. Because of the alleged disregard for repeated warnings, the CCG claimed they lawfully blocked Philippine vessels, which they say were illegally carrying construction materials. They also alleged that PCG vessel 4409 deliberately reversed, causing the collision. They added that the Philippines is using this incident to escalate tension in the disputed area of the West Philippine Sea. The CCG also insisted that their operations were professional, legitimate, and lawful, and that the responsibility for the incident lies with the Philippines. Beijing drew flag from the international community after the Chinese Coast Guard executed dangerous blocking maneuvers and collided with Philippine boats on a resupply mission to the BRP Sierra Madre in the Ayungin Shoal on Sunday. The U.S. Department of State described China's maneuvers as dangerous and noted the Chinese Coast Guard violated international law by intentionally interfering the Philippines' exercise of high seas and freedom of navigation. They then reaffirmed that the Mutual Defense Treaty extends to armed attacks to Philippine Armed Forces, public vessels, and aircraft, including those of the Coast Guard anywhere in the South China Sea. Australian Ambassador to the Philippines, HKU, said they are concerned about China's recent actions and again called for peace, stability, and respect for UNCLOS. Meanwhile, European Union Ambassador Luc Veron called the collision dangerous and very disturbing. He added that the EU joins the Philippines in its call for the full observance of international law in the South China Sea. And British Ambassador Laure Beaufils expressed UK's concern over reports of unsafe conduct towards Philippine vessels in the region. She also called for adherence to UNCLOS and maintained that UK opposes actions which raise tensions in the South China Sea. A third batch of Filipino repatriates from Israel is expected to arrive in the country this afternoon. 25 Filipinos are arriving at the NAIA Terminal 3 via Etihad Airways at around 4 p.m. today. This would bring the total number of Filipino repatriates to 58. All returning Filipinos have been offered a repatriation assistance package of 50,000 pesos each from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration. Special Envoy of the President to China and former Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin apologizes for a controversial post on Palestine. In a now deleted post on X, Locsin said, quote, "That's why Palestinian children should be killed. They might grow up to become as gullible as innocent Palestinians letting Hamas launch missiles at Israel." End quote. Locsin said this in response to another user's tweet about the hardships faced by Palestinians and how they are being used by Hamas militants. Locsin has since clarified his post, saying it was a sarcastic response to a tweet. Locsin also apologized to those who he believes misconstrued his sentiments. He said he was not advocating for the literal death of anyone, but rather the end of an ideology that condones terrorism in any way, shape, or form. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Jago Castro. The transport sector is gearing up for the influx of travelers, the upcoming long weekend, which would cover the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections in Undas. The MMDA is deploying 1,400 enforcers and extend their hours for the long weekend. The MMDA will also enforce a no absence, no leave policy to ensure all hands on deck for the exodus of travelers. Inspections will also be tighter at bus terminals, while drivers and bus conductors will undergo random drug testing. The MMDA will also deploy officers at cemeteries in the metro to ensure security and order. Meanwhile, airline companies have also rolled out travel safety measures and advisories for travelers. Philippine Airlines reminds passengers to check their terminal assignments and check in online 24 hours before their flight. The airline also opened a pay lounge for NAIA 2 domestic passengers, which would also cater to economy class passengers. Cebu Pacific likewise encourages online check-in to avoid long lines at the airport. This may be done 7 days up to 1 hour before the scheduled time of departure for domestic flights and up to 4 hours before departure of international flights. SEBPAC also says travelers should allot time for traffic en route to the airport. Now heads up to motorists planning their travels for the holiday. Oil prices are again projected to increase this week. Unioil projects prices of diesel to climb by 1 peso and 30 centavos to up to 1 peso and 50 centavos per liter. Gasoline prices are seen to increase by up to 1 peso and 10 centavos, while kerosene prices are expected to go up by up to 1 peso and 40 centavos. The possible oil price hike is still attributed to the movement of pump prices in the world market. Oil companies will be announcing final price increases today, which will be implemented tomorrow. "361 areas in the country are now considered hotspots for the upcoming October 30 barangay and SK elections. Over 100 more areas nationwide were declared election hotspots, adding to the 242 barangays previously listed under the red category. Areas are placed under this category if there are suspected election-related incidents, security threats posed by terrorist or partisan armed groups, or if the area has been declared under COMELEC control. So far, only Negros Oriental has been placed under COMELEC control due to security-related concerns and the recent assassination of Governor Roel Degamo. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 11:15 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News, all sides, all the time.